Good morning, welcome to today's live trading. Hopefully it's nearly 9 o'clock. I just got back from the school run. Just going to have a quick look through the markets here and see where we are. So let's just run through briefly the euro dollar. Euro's had a bit of a blip. As I'm looking at the monthly chart there for some reason. Why am I looking at that? Oh yeah, because I wanted to look at where those prior lows were. Okay. So let's just come back to the dailies. It'll be good for now. And a bit of a bounce back from yesterday afternoon, late evening. They're consolidating where we are at the moment. Not really liking this price pattern as we sit here. My preference is still to the downside. So at this stage, to get some confirmation, or maybe a little bit firmer confirmation, I was looking in the update of a break of 1150. Maybe with this candle coming in and what's going on here, I could be going in fractionally earlier, but I'll just see what's happening. With what we saw yesterday and we've seen lately, we may get sort of a bit more heat coming off the market, but I do wonder if we will get a squeeze either way. Let's have a look at the pound. Again, just coming out from the dailies, one of the biggest days, selling off there yesterday for some time. In range, it's again maybe due a bit more of a bounce. Sometimes you get a bit of a short squeeze coming through. I was looking earlier on before I left for the school run to see if it got back to that daily pivot. It hasn't got back there yet, and again here could be looking trend line across the lows somewhere roughly from this low here across this little old range here. Could be just looking to see. Now of course it could come back down to that and bounce off it, so we'll just wait and see if we get a break from there. It starts getting any momentum. I've got a feeling it's going to be a quieter day because it's after the storm comes the calm. After the calm comes back the storm, but see where we are. So higher low going in on this Japanese yen. You can see it's still pushing back up. Now, interestingly, this is still edging upwards gently, but not very far actually. But probably across the tops here. We're looking at MACD. No, I was looking to see if there's any divergence across the highs here. I don't really fancy the short side of this yen, so I'm going to step aside of that anyway. What else have we got out there? The Aussie looked okay this morning. Again, this is one of those that maybe if we see a break of the lows here. But again, we've just seen this consolidation, so really it's a case of wait and see a little bit more. If we see the likes of the pound that rolling over a little bit more, I could be interested. In fact, I'm just looking back at the pound on a 30-minute chart, and it's almost looking more appealing on that. Potentially, we'll see. I was just looking at it, been hand railing that 30-minute 50. But no, I'll stick with my plan here at the moment because all the moving averages are curling around a little bit here. And I don't really want to be short into something that's going to give support. So if I'm going to be short, I'm going to be running from this point of view. It may be that we even look at a cheeky long back towards that pivot. We'll see how it sets this morning. So we are a bit mercenary in these markets. Yesterday I started off with a small long. I say small long, a long. And it didn't really come to much, and I let it stop itself out. Ended up going on the short side, and it worked out wonderfully. But we'll see where we are here this morning. I'm going to be patient. Okay, so we've been sitting here waiting for a trade this morning, and with the way these markets, you see I'm on a 5-minute chart here, way these markets have been chopping along, I've just not been drawn into anything. The pound here, I'm keeping my original. I've sort of had a ticket ready a couple of times, thinking at one stage we almost looked at it and considered a sort of a scalpy trade back to its daily pivot, which has a nice high probability. And then just sat here and looking at it, and it's just, I don't like it. I don't like the price action here at all. this price action around about this 855 candle, what should have been a sort of that from that wedge pushing up towards the daily pivot never happened. But then I was looking at this and it was pushing back up again here, and looking at it, it's just so bitty. Realistically, I'd like to be on the short side of this, so I'm going to just let this ride out now. It's just about to have a break. It's around about 10 o'clock, 10:07. So that's the pound. The euro is this is a weird old one, and I'm very distrusting of these moves at this time of day. We were looking at it may just stay within this range, and the volumes, okay, the volumes yesterday were really high relatively, but these volumes have dropped quite a bit off there, and I'm sort of lacking in any sort of trust in what's happening now. It might just roll through the bottom there and run, but I can see buy orders sitting right bang below the price down to around about 11.50, and then it becomes a bit more of a potential switch back. But so at the moment I'm going to break, and we're off for breakfast. So back from a break, and the cable has unfortunately gone without me here and well on its way, so missed out on that. It's gone quite early today. I suppose with the US market, the hour's slightly different. They're getting a bit of volume through a bit quicker here, and it did pitch up for a new high. I was looking earlier on to see if we would get a move into the daily pivot. Well, that's not happened, and we've seen the sell-off, breakdown and sell-off. I was looking below this 8 o'clock pivot earlier on, but that's as I say, it's gone whilst I was away, which happens at times, so I had to wait and see what else may happen there. The euro's broken down as well. Coming back to this 60-minute time frame, it's been a bit of a dance though. I was wary of this move this morning on the euro, particularly because just the price range it was in, and it has literally pitched out the bottom of that price range, not really triggered anything, but well, it might do yet. So just watching what's happening on the shorter time frame for some clues. Before I do that though, let's just flick through some of the other markets there. Then the dollar yen, well, the yen's pushed up. If I can get it on the right chart, it'd be good. So the yen's just carried on pushing up this morning. It was slow and choppy, and it's well, just carry on pushing up there. Weakness continuing with the yen. There's the dollar continues to strengthen, which is correlated across these markets at the moment. Aussie dollar looking a lot choppier and uglier. No real picture in that. It's been very range bound all morning. It's more euro-y sort of price action. Canadian dollars, just a quick look at that. What's going on there? That's sold off most of the morning. Where was that? What time was it? Where were we there? Let's just get the time on there. Until 9:30 it sold through, but taking a bit of a return to the trend that was sitting there. I'm just looking to see where it sort of may have bounced off. Came short of the 4-hourly 21, which had been hit prior. I do wonder if this will push on upwards again. It's extremed at the tops there, whether it will push back towards that in the next 4 hours maybe. It's 11:43. It's worth just waiting for the fix to come through at midday. So potential upside on the Canadian dollar there, but I am watching the euro. The euro, my preference is just to wait until post 12 o'clock here now. It's just saying that taking the hour back a bit, maybe we see a bit of price action just continue here. Now, if this starts rolling properly, we could see it running back down towards that 1080 area. In fact, I'm quite liking this price action because it's just running into a load of sell stops. So I am preparing to sell here Just getting a ticket ready to sell. Initially I've got a 25 pip stop on my order ready to go. Okay, I'm hitting the sell button here, so selling the euro. I've got a 25 pip stop on this. Look and see if we get a continuation. I'm watching the other markets at the same time. They're running through. This may want to just pull back. 12 o'clock pivot may be within range. Got to be a bit wary of that. Can sometimes draw price back to it, but we're just hitting a area I identified earlier on. Back on the order book here, that's got we're just running into this sort of zone of sell orders, which may see as net sell orders below, which just might see us get a bit of continuation. So let's get this order posted on our site. So just looking at the stop size, I've got it's sitting around about 10 pips at the moment on the average true range. We're sitting at 2.5 times that at the moment, so okay with that. With the entry was at 11.44, so just around where price is sitting at the moment. Target wise, I'm looking at about 11.84. I'm just looking at it, so there's quite a bit of confluence with pivots here. May look at this sort of area, but 10.84 really ties up with back into this sort of zone of yesterday's lows there. So we'll see how we go now. So that's all placed, and we shall leave that alone. Okay, so just been stopped out here. He's pushing up the euro. The pound, everything else is running south, but the euro for some reason is pushing up. I will review this. Everything else is going, well, I don't know, cable's starting to move a little bit, and maybe this is the early signs of a move here, but even if I'd put the stop actually higher here, it would be taking me out at this level. I would have taken out, so we'll review this. I was speaking earlier about being quite a mercenary in these markets, and if the market was to turn bullish, I would consider it, but the only thing is, in this sort of range it's sitting in, it could just as well take me back to the highs there, peak out the other side, run into a key moving average and roll back. So my preference is to be trading this with the trend that was there. Waited patiently because I didn't like the initial price action there, what was happening, and potential. It broke down here, we got in, but we'll have a look at this and to say maybe re-enter, and maybe re-enter quite quickly. It's just taking the pivot out as a bit of a fix around this sort of time of the day. Maybe worth just waiting 10-15 minutes. Complete change of course there. But we shall hold fire from this stage at this moment. So just sitting here waiting to look for a second short here. Still on the bigger picture, like the short side of things here. It's with the trend. The pound, the euro, and now pound and the yen, sorry, are both getting weaker again. Had a little pull back. I'm just waiting for the last of this candle, hopefully before it sells off too far, but just watching it carefully. So tickets ready to sell. So new candle in here, just waiting for this. Let's see if it just breaks down. At the moment it's just having a little bounce off the 521 there. If it breaks through that, that's my trigger to continues. Bearish Rami, almost not really actually a bearish Rami, it's such a big candle, that red one. But finger poised, just waiting. Still waiting. See the 5-minute 8 and 5-minute 21 both around about the same level here. Let's just see if it, might as well just wait for it to break. And right, sold the euro here. Now, target wise, let's just check what I've got. I've got 88, that's fine, that's about 70 pip target sitting there. May just need to adjust my stop here, going to have to edge it up a little bit here. It's at set at 25, I just need to logically pop it across at I think 88 is going to be sufficient. Let's have a look. Yeah, 88. If it starts pushing up beyond this point here, it confirms a higher low in. So there we are. So I'll put a 30 pip stop on this now. 30 pip to make 70. So we're sitting here in the room at the moment, and well, we're getting this stage where we've been up about 50 pips here on this trade. Now, the thing is, when you set these targets, obviously you're setting a target back to a prior low or whatever it may be, or towards that sort of area. But you sort of can sit in there, and should you be taking half the trade off, part of the trade off, all the trade off? What's it doing? Now, when I come back to the dailies here, it has found a bit of support, maybe back into that daily 200, and that may be it. And we may be reversing here, and I'm just looking at this overall and considering, do I exit this now? Let's just sit here a little bit longer, see what's happening. If it starts breaking above this sort of level, maybe I think, well, call it a day. But the thing is, it's allowing the winners to run, and the losers, you allow your losers to run, but you should be allowing the winners to run. But sometimes it's just a case of, well, hang on a minute, and it's always a big debate. Perhaps my target there wasn't achievable because of the support that sits below it, or whatever it may be. The market sets the price, and you just trade with what you're seeing with the price. What I'm seeing at the moment is consolidation, which should have seen maybe a break to the downside. But what's not unusual in this market is we're seeing completely opposite consolidation with a push to the upside at the moment. But that may be just to fake people in. I'm getting to that point where I may close the position off altogether. I could close part of the position, but I'd rather be closing part of the position at a better price. But if it's going to turn, it's going to turn, and we're sitting now back to its 5-minute 20 here, 521, and it looks like it may be pushing higher. Okay, so just to confirm, taken 4/5 off the trade in the end. I really don't like the price action. If we look at what's going on elsewhere, the cable's having a bit of a flyer here, and the yen's selling off as well. So the euro's been a bit sluggish and slow, and it could just be doing a similar sort of case. And the last thing is to give it all back. It is Friday at the end of the day. I'm looking at this, and I'm almost considering whether to even close that last fifth out. But what I've done here is I've moved the stop to break even on the final fifth, and we'll let it run at the moment. But we'll see how it goes from here. As we're discussing in the room here, it's sod's law. It almost looks like it wants to roll back down, which is fine. I mean, I've got a fifth still running. It's I'm up a few pips on the day now, but it's not really what I want to be. I would like to have been up more pips, but it's just the way the market's looking. Maybe if I hadn't been sitting here, I wouldn't have touched it. And that's certainly a case so often, is when you're walking away from the desk, you tend to achieve more points. Sometimes, other times you just come back and find yourself stopped and out of a trade which you might have taken part profit off, or whatever it may be. So it swings and roundabouts. We've got a little bit of a roundabout at the moment. We're slightly up on the day, very slightly. If it was to break even here, we as I say, we're still slightly up net pointage wise. So we'll leave it as B for now, see what happens. So the euro is edging back southwards, and looking okay at the moment. What I have done though, as I said, I wasn't particularly happy what this done, the price action and whatever else. It may just be slowing up on a Friday, but it doesn't really matter. What I've done is moved the stop down to 11.35, so just a bit of maintenance. If this was now to break from this, there's a divergence across the lows. It's only a 5-minute chart, so it's not a big deal, but if it was to break across, I would be looking at that stopping at that point, so that's fine. So leave it as it is, and off I go. So just got back to the desk later on. So I just collected my children from school, and well, the target hit on the remaining fifth there at 88. That clipped. It's obviously gone a bit further now. The case for should we stay or should we go? Should it be left or whatever else? In this case, has been you should have just left it alone. However, there are swings and roundabouts on these things, as I said earlier. But net position on this second trade was plus 40 with 33 pips at 4/5 and 70 pips on 1/5. Netted us 40 pips, but overall for the day just 15 pips up today. Bit of a measly day, but a loss, and it's Friday, so it's Poets Day, so I'm out of here because tomorrow's Saturday. Have a great one. Have a great weekend. And just a reminder, if you haven't already looked at it, if you're interested in joining our day trading room, you can do so on a monthly basis now. We've got a membership system. So I will put a link, you'll be able to see it above throughout the video. There's a little link to the web page, or below if you've missed that, there'll be a link so you can actually check out the membership. But different way of doing it. You can learn as you go effectively. You're always learning in the trading room anyway with Charlie and myself, but of course then you've got the opportunity to as I say, get the material as you go through and learn over the years. Take care. Bye for now.